The signal's clear, coming through Geocache Talk. A voice on the line I hear, coming through Geocache Talk.
It's time for Geocache Talk. Whether you are at work, in the car, or wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can be part of the adventure tonight in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. If you are listening later, please give it a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app so that you can get all of the weekly Geocache Talk goodness.
Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music.
Mm-hmm.
And which is cool. Now we got him doing that part. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
On not only on the audio side, but now on the video side, our featured patrons: Purple Turtles 3, ACDC Family, None of It Tidy, Josh Boggs, Carrot Killer, and I missed seeing Carrot Killer and his wife, who goes by Lady Black Cat. They rolled through town, but this afternoon I was my allergies were killing me, so I didn't want to go snivel all over them. So they rolled through town and found a cache and moved on. So, but thanks for the invite. Korsgat, Geocaching with Lampe, Dave and Karen of Cache Canada, Team Tailwagger, Black Chrome, and our new patrons, AWOL, Sackishness, The Fours Awakens, Huey 250, Merlin 1392, Kenny Mason Mady or Kenny Mason Maddie. I'm trying to figure out. I'm getting a clarification on that. I'm sure it's Maddie, but
It seems like it would be three names, right?
Yeah, Kenny Mason
I
Maddie.
guess because there's so many creative names.
I know. Kenny Mason Maddie.
There you go. It's Maddie.
Maddie. Yep. Thank you so much.
They corrected you there.
Oh, good. Thank you. Kenny Mason Maddie. Rin Nicole, the four Lunsfords. Not the four Lunsfords you think.
Not these four Lunsfords. Different.
Not those four Lunsfords. And Geocache. We'll talk about Geocache here in a moment. If you'd like to become a patron, click on the Become a Patron link on the front page of the Geocache Talk website, or you can head over to patreon.com/Geocache Talk for more details. Patrons get the now famous coin. Woo. Sent some up this week. Yes, yes. And I've messed up my notes, so bear with me a moment. Other geocaching items during the year, as well as bonus content, invites to special events only for patrons, like the book club. Has been going on now for a little bit. We've done some special patron podcasts. That's been fun. Lots of cool stuff. We also have the Golden Ammo Can group. Got a special gift this week, in fact. So
sure did.
Thanks, Golden Ammo Can people, and hope you enjoy your gift. Support levels start at as little as Bison Tube level. That's just $3 a month. Let me welcome my co-host Jesse.
Good evening. I'm here. Happy to be here tonight, and I get to talk about something called Cachly that I've never heard of before. So
oh yeah,
never used it, heard of it or anything.
you and I live vicariously by my friend. You know that.
I know everybody I meet is tired of me talking about it because I'm like, you mean you don't know? Come on, yeah, you do. Come on.
Yeah,
I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump right into show 202 as we talk about Cachly 6.0 with Nick Hubbard. Nick, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
As always.
And it's really welcome back, right? Because
it is a very welcome back.
Just once or twice before.
That's true.
Oh my gosh, the comments are going crazy. How did we get 37 comments in that short of a time? Oh my gosh, this is great. Thank you, everyone. Best
people need happy stuff right now. That's why.
Ever.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yes, appreciate that. Can I talk about what we gave them? Is that can we?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. We're going to talk about it more later, but
yeah, we can just tonight and get into it.
Yeah,
more.
We got so many things to talk about tonight. We're going to get into details, but I did send him my new book, the Ammo Can in the Woods, a geocaching anthology. If I can get my own title up, but Jesse took that photo.
I did.
it's better. This is an early copy. I fixed the front cover so it looks better. But Jesse took that one because it's a cool ammo can we found. That was Jesse's 5,000th.
It was, yeah.
And Jasmer completion.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And if it's on Amazon, if you'd like to go find it and purchase, I would appreciate that. The Ammo Can in the Woods, a geocaching anthology. So
I was wondering how I got that in the mail. You must have sent it to me.
I sent it to you. Yes, I did. Yeah, I had a bunch of people go. I had a bunch of people say, "Oh, great! What I buy from Amazon?" That's
No, I have your first book, and I knew you were coming out with a second one. I wondered if I had like pre-ordered it without remembering it, but
yeah,
thank you.
Not to spoil anything in the book, because obviously I got a copy of it, and we got to talk about it ahead of time. But Christy laughed out loud at one of the pages towards the end. Yeah. I won't say what it is, but there's a maze on there, and there's a smart alecky comment on it about me. She laughed. He got you.
Nice.
I mean, that didn't reveal anything, right? But I'm not going to say it. I let people get their own laughs out of the book. It's definitely there's definitely a lot of humor. It's not if you're looking for a serious book, go back to Amazon, right? Because a funny, fun, filled with a lot. I don't want to say what's in it, right? Because people see it if they see it, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. Well, if you ever see us, bring it. We'll sign your books, no problem. So.
Well, absolutely right, but we could not navigate the process of signing it and getting it shipped and making sure it got there on time. So
yeah.
Plus, we want to encourage people to go to megas when they start, and all this other stuff, and we want to visit people. That's our number one goal is to get to meet everybody that we talk to online.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into a little bit of news, and then we want to dive in because we got a lot of cool questions to ask about 6.0 and just so excited about it. I can't tell you how. I mean, I've been using it now. It's been wonderful, but a lot of cool stuff. There's stuff in here for everybody. I always say that. I always agree. Whether people agree or not, I think that there's stuff in this show that fits a lot of. It's sort of agnostic to your phone. It fits for iOS. It fits for Android.
Right.
So don't just tune us out because the Cachely's on iOS. There's some things in here that really fit for all of them. So stay with us on that. So we have a new show coming out this Tuesday, and we're very excited about having that. It's a brand new podcast. It'll be out. And it'll be on the calendar on the website because it's a little different. It's going to be the second and third Tuesdays of every month. So we're going to have Puzzle Talk. So we're very excited to have Puzzle Talk. We've got two incredible hosts for that, not Jesse and Gary.
Nope, not Jesse and Gary.
So we got Charles Watkins, Pathfinder 33, and Electric Water Boy. Tom Brotherman are going to handle that show. We might be on a little bit, but not really talking about puzzles, just kind of running the show a little bit until they're comfortable and don't need us. And that won't be long. But Puzzle Talk is going to be great. Second and third Tuesdays, first and fourth Tuesdays, of course, is Gadget Talk on Tuesdays. And then we've got, no, not that one. Geocaching with Kids is once a month. That's our other podcast. And then we got a new icon that I know, I think
that's some good news too.
Derek wants to fix that. Should I kind of show that one?
Wait, hold on. We have he's working on the new one now.
Working on a new one. Okay.
Let him get the new one finished, which he sent me, and I will get that, and we'll get it before the end of the show. We'll put it up there.
Okay, cool. All right. So other announcements. The Geocache Talk store has some more items in it. Jesse's wearing one of them. I think it's in the store, right?
I sure am. So I got this in today.
Very cool.
How am I going to line this up with like the back?
No, you're good. Turn. There you go. You're that guy. Put the micro in the woods. Yes, I like it. Perfect.
Yeah, and actually, that is very true. I am that guy that'll hide a micro in the woods. I know everybody thinks you have to have an ammo can in the woods or a bucket, but you know what? I want it to be hard when I get there too. So
That's right. Challenge accepted.
yeah, challenge accepted.
So check out our store. Go to geocachetalk.com. Go to the store. Get you a cool shirt. There's a couple different ones. There's the Gadget Talk one.
Yeah,
and there's that one. And
you know what? We're trying to add some funny stuff. That's the theme of the last couple of months from us. We're just trying to add some humor in right now. You know, everybody's in a different situation worldwide, so we want to make sure you can have as much fun as you want to have right now. So we're being a little sillier than normal, but that's okay. You know, it's fun. So
fun stuff. For June, we have we brought back our promo for our one of our sponsors, Right in the Rain. So if you use the promo code Geocache, you can get not 10%, not 20%, 30% off. Woohoo! So there you go. Promo code Geocache. You can get some cool stuff.
So if anybody doubts Right in the Rain paper, go back and watch. If you haven't already watched it, Gadget Talk, the last Gadget Talk, where they're writing under the water on the paper that's been soaking for like a week.
That is awesome.
You know, it's already been out, so hopefully I'm not spoiling it for anybody, but it's just really neat. They're like, yeah, we'll try it right here live on the air. Blam.
Right. There you go.
It works like crazy. So
it works great. They've been great sponsors, as well as what we're talking about tonight, Cashly. Woohoo! Like that one?
Yeah, very cool.
That's very subtle. Nobody saw that one coming, Gary.
Nobody saw that coming. You like my little segue to Cashly?
Yeah.
So I went back just for fun. I've done this a couple times before, but I do remember one. I think it's called 1.0. I think so. Cache and Release, the show I was on prior to this one. It was show number 50. Nick, you and I were on that show. It was 2/21 of 2016. So over 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Does 1.0, was it 1.0 or 1.1, or I don't remember what we would have called.
Yeah, it was 1 point something, but yeah, I think I'd released it in December of the year before. Yeah.
So that was really cool. So look at how far we've come. We're up to 6.0. Can you imagine that we've come this far?
No, it's crazy.
It's been great. We're gonna get into some cool stuff tonight.
Yeah.
I do have on the website the full featured list link. It's on Medium.
Yep.
Which I like Medium. I don't really get on Medium for other reasons, but I usually only get on for your info. So
it's helpful. It's a quick, easy way to write kind of a blog post without messing with your own software or your own website. So
cool. Yes. So we're going to get into that. Oh yeah. Christy, you mentioned y'all used offline maps today, which I always use offline maps. I mean, that's
awesome.
I completed the Texas Challenge, 254 counties last year. Susan and I did, and we used this old iPhone. That's all we used. You know, in long as you do a little prep, just a little prep is all you need. And we were in places in the middle of nowhere, Texas. I mean, there wasn't a signal for miles, and just used Cashly and just found all the caches. Now, I couldn't log them.
Yeah.
Till I got back to that, but I didn't need to log them. I just needed to find them, make note, and same thing like up in the mountains, right, Jesse? I mean, that's
So both the caches we found today, and we were going to do this big bit when you got on here today, saying you've been making the circuit, but your special announcement was that you're doing a Cashly for GPSRs. Funny. We thought, you know what? Let's get down that road of making fun of GPSRs again, and we don't want to do that. So. Now, both caches I found today were mountaintop caches. I mean, not extreme mountains, but serious drive and then a hike once you got there and everything else. And like one of them had been found in 19 months, and the other one from 2002, and ammo cans in the woods, that kind of deal. As we're driving on the way down there, we just grabbed the visible caches, saved it to an offline list. So when we got there, everything was saved, and we saved full day. We're doing it. Zero problems. And there is zero signal where we were at all. Zero. And we're in the mountains. It's legitimate zero signal. It's not like I have kind of bad service. There's no signal anywhere.
Yeah.
That plus, all 10,000 other caches I've done, I'm just not, except for maybe 3. The cell phone works fine. And every one of those we use for Cachely, and it doesn't even slow it. We use offline lists even when we're probably going to be in cell service, just because we keep going back to it all the time and we like to navigate it and everything else. So
yeah.
Works. Yeah. That's our style of caching. And I know everybody does their own style of caching, but we straight go to the offline list like every single time.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the meat and bones of the episode. Let's talk about Trackable Scanner. I recently used it. We were doing our usual Motley Caching crew run, and we got to a Travel Bug hotel. And I was like, "Oh, good! I can use it now because I knew it was there."
Yeah.
And the scanner at the bottom, the usual hit the Trackable button, and then now you've got this link up here at the top with the little green.
Yeah, the scan button.
The scan button. So you click scan, and it comes up and gives you like a Trackable scanner, and that's been it was a lot of fun. It worked great. It's one thing to sit at your desk and maybe scan one. But we were talking about off the before the show started that one of the things that I was curious to find out was, can I stand there in the middle of this is on the side of the, this is actually kind of in the woods a little bit, scan there and, stand there and grab one and try to scan it and all that good stuff. And it worked great. It's really good at seeking, I guess is the way to put it. It kind of seeks for that.
It's looking for text.
Yeah, it's looking for that text, and some of them, even if it was like there were some of them that had been, out in the wild for a while, and so they were some of them were kind of dirty and so forth, and faded. But I mean, I was able to put it on there, and it found it and worked great. And the cool thing is that it comes up, and I hadn't really done the prep that I should have probably done. So it came up and said, do you want to just discover it? You want to grab it? I was just doing discoveries. I wasn't really in a spot where I could really grab them, but it did a quick discovery log. It worked great. There is a thing though, we probably want to talk about, because Jesse, you were looking at tweaking the text for.
Yeah. So, and it's in there, obviously we got to chat a little bit before the show started, but so like when you scan it, you can set up a pre-done text, text template. That's what you call it, right? Which we have them for find logs, and that's not a new one for the find logs and everything else, and DNF and stuff, or events. But you can do it now for discoveries too of trackables, right?
Yeah. So that feature is available in the settings of Cachely. Yeah, you can create those for different kind of logs of trackables, and then that will work also with the scanner. So if you're doing discover logs, it'll insert that text template automatically if you created that. And so they kind of work together like that.
So I'm scanning.
So like Gary has this set up, found on a list on Facebook, and if he's paying attention.
He's not hearing you.
He's not hearing me.
I'm not doing that. I am doing the one that the Aussie geocacher sent me, so I'm going to send a discover log for that. But you can use it anywhere. But that's cool. I mean, go to more. I always call it more. I guess is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, the more tab.
The more tab. Go to more tab. Go to settings.
Yep.
And under settings, if you track down a little ways, you'll see the text templates.
Yep.
Down there, and just set up your own. You can set up a text template.
Yeah, and one thing about the scanning, one of my beta testers actually mentioned that they tried it on some curved text for the code. One of the coins he had was kind of on an arc, and it worked scanning that as well. So hopefully it scans pretty much every situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's working great. I love it.
Good.
And
Glad to hear it.
yeah. Okay, so several things that you've added or fixed. We'll talk about some different things tonight. What is state restoration? What is that all about?
That is the, I keep saying this, but this is the biggest feature that nobody will ever notice. And it's also probably the most boring feature to talk about, but the one that people appreciate. So
Yeah.
previously, before 6.0, if you switch to something like the camera or other apps that used a lot of processing power, memory, it would often kill cachely in the background. And then when you return, you would just get back to the live screen. It would do a search where you are, and you kind of would lose your place.
Right.
So sometimes that was okay, but sometimes it was really annoying if you were navigated to a cache, you were on the navigation screen, and it gets killed, and you got to find that again. So
right.
With this state restoration, every screen in the whole app has basically been updated to save its state. So that means where it was scrolled in a list, where the text was that you just typed, basically all UI elements that you see, pins on a map, your position of the pins, all those kind of things are saved. So then you can just return to cachely like nothing even happened. So people should be starting to get so used to it they don't even notice that it's happening.
But it's great because I think we've all been there, and I don't know how much coding has to be done for that, but
it was one of the biggest features of 6.0.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it is a huge, like you said, it's one of those things. It's kind of like if an umpire is doing a fabulous job umpiring a game, you don't notice him because he's doing a great job. So that's
it's not a fancy feature to advertise.
No, you're exactly right.
But even people in the chat room, I mean, it didn't go unnoticed. People have noticed it, and they're appreciative of it. So
absolutely,
that's good. That's great.
So John, that's the default. You can go in, talking about trackables, you can go in, you can change it and do your own text there. So very cool. All right. Cache logs. View friends logs for a geocache, and you can view own logs of a geocache. It's kind of interesting. I like this idea.
So how does that work?
So that's something that the API team at HQ added. So all partner apps could actually access that. But if you have friends that are showing cachely, which they are geocaching.com friends, but there's that extra step of the authorization of mobile apps, which is in your settings on geocaching.com. So you'll see all your friends that have authorized mobile apps to see them, and you can see their log. So if you're needing help on a cache, you're just curious, you go to the log section of a cache, and then there's a little kind of a user icon at the top right, and that will show those two new options, friends logs or your own.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So and the one, both of these, well, the first one is something that CGO users have always said, oh, CGO has this, but none of the other apps have. But that wasn't something that we could previously provide because CGO is doing things differently than partner apps. But the second one that we said, viewing your own logs, that was a suggestion by my beta testers. So they had wanted to be able to see, if you had DNF'd a cache, 6 years ago, you don't want to sit there and scroll through like 300 logs to find your old log. With this new feature, it'll just go right to your logs that you posted for that cache.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Now that actually is, I can see where I would use that too. You get to a cache, and especially your friends, how your friends log things. Like people log differently, right? But what your friends are actually saying when they log a cache. Like it's coded, but exactly what they mean by it. So sometimes that'd be a lot more helpful than just reading through random logs. So I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, my allergies are killing me. So if I'm tearing up, it's for both reasons. For reasons of I love Cashly so much, I am tearing up, but also my allergies are kicking.
This is one of my beta testers, so he's
oh cool.
He's being snarky.
Tearing up. That's fine. You can be. And I was, and I am tearing up for both reasons. Map type quick switcher. This is interesting. I like this, and I don't really think I even noticed that I didn't have it before.
Yeah, so this is another user suggestion. I think this was a beta tester suggestion.
Right.
But before, if you have a couple map types that you really enjoy, like offline maps, but you also want to switch to satellite view because you want to, see visually what's around you, forests or whatever, you can just long press on the map layers button, and it will show you your 3 previously used map types.
Oh, sweet.
So you can, instead of going to the large list of them and scrolling down.
Yeah.
So then you can kind of just toggle back and forth between your maybe 2 favorites or your 3 favorites. Yeah.
I'm showing 4 for mine. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it makes it quicker and easier.
It is quick and easy. I love it.
Let me tell you why this is an awesome addition that I didn't even realize was there. So my wife and I often cache together, and we have different styles of using maps.
Yeah.
So because I'm trying not to drive. I'm not saying I never do it. But I'm not admitting to doing it either. But
No, you're admitting to it.
or I try not to look at my phone, while I'm driving.
Yeah.
When she's in the passenger seat and she's the map person, right?
Yeah.
Well, especially when we get to urban areas, she'll have it on the street maps. And I'm like, well, we're in a parking lot. That doesn't help. Switch over to the aerial maps.
Right.
You go in and you get off and you're already driving around. And this is perfect because we switch back and forth. And we both have our opinions of which map we should be using at certain times. Toggling back and forth will be good.
That's
Yeah. Yeah, she said it's going to be her new favorite feature. We actually have another feature that I want to bring up before we get off of the map stuff.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I actually even have a picture that I've been waiting until you came back on. So she made sure that I brought this up. So this right here, Apple Maps.
Yep.
If you look on here, you can see out of reach, GC, and then the GC code on there.
Yes.
So I found this out in the field.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't realize that was part of it. We had it plugged into Apple Maps, and I always love navigating to it on the dashboard.
Yeah.
Pulled up the GC code and the name of the cache in the map on my dashboard. I was like, yes.
Yes.
It was so cool to see that. I don't know why it just tickled us. We loved that so much, and it probably took all kinds of programming. I don't know if people like that or not, but that is our new favorite thing about Cachely is when we plug it into Apple Maps, it's got the cache name on our dashboard.
Surprisingly, that was very easy to do. It was a user suggestion and something I didn't even realize was possible. But before, if you went to like the history in Apple Maps of what you had been to, it was just, I think it was like dropped pin or just show the chords. So if somebody had done a bunch, they had no clue what, those all were. So yeah, it was actually quite simple to just send that data to there. But yeah, a bunch of users have said, "Oh man, it's so nice to have."
I don't know why we were geeking out over it. It's so nerdy, I know, but to have
I like those small things that people appreciate.
We had all kinds of fun with that. She's like, "Oh, you got to tell Nick about this. When y'all having him on the show again?" She's like, "This is awesome." So we've been saving that picture actually, I think, for about a month. So
Love it.
Awesome.
I don't know,
like
it. It's a small thing, but it was so cool just to see that that's what we're driving to, not like random spot in parking lot. It was the actual
exactly.
So
yeah.
Very cool though. I don't know if anybody else even noticed or liked it as much. I know a few people noticed until they liked it a lot, but we loved it. So
one thing that is interesting now we want to discuss next is droppable pins. And so I like putting droppable pins because sometimes the CO may not put a waypoint that I think should be added, but I'm not the CO for that cache. But I'll go look sometimes at a map and I'll go, they're not giving me a good idea of where to really park. And I've been using Waze, and I'm actually kind of thinking I've had trouble with Waze. Waze will try to take me straight to the cache.
Yeah. And
Susan and I invariably will be at the back side of a cemetery where it's trying to take me like exactly directly to it. It's like so then I have to stop and I have to figure out where's the true parking for this thing. Yes. And so I like that I can ahead of time, I can drop a pin, but I also, you got it now. So it's draggable.
Yeah. So it sounds simple, but this feature actually used to be in Cachly until I released 5.0, and then it disappeared. And that was because in 5.0 I added Google Maps again, and I added offline maps, and that was a total of 3 different mapping frameworks, if I'm being kind of technical, so
Right.
that everything had to be done 3 times. So the ability to drag a pin, the code for that was 3 times the work, and it just didn't make it into 5.0, and it took all the way until 6.0 to finally be
Yeah.
added again. So yeah, now you can just long press on one of those pins that you dropped, and you can drag it to where you want.
I use that all the time too. That's one of the main features we use all the time because I'm always scouting locations or for caches I may hide in the future or anything like that.
Yeah.
Save locations list is always like a bunch. I hope there's not a limit on there because I got a bunch on there.
There's not. But I mean, I always drop a pin and then save it as an offline geocache because there's the save pins or save locations has limited functionality. You can't filter on those and things like that. So a lot of users will just create a random type in an earth cache or something like that, of a custom cache type and save it that way. So either way you can do it. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, Jeff pointing out that's use that for placement. Yeah, it's good. So you can get a real true idea from a satellite.
Yep.
Very good. Yeah, and it is really good. It's interesting too. Our fans, viewers, listeners of our show, it's amazing how advanced they really are. So I think that I wouldn't, as you know, we're going to talk about some things that are sort of on the advanced side, which is Jess and I sort of really focus a lot on trying to provide a lot of advanced type features for people. We don't skip the beginning stuff per se, but usually beginning stuff can be found anywhere.
Yeah.
But sometimes the advanced type things aren't as easy to find on YouTube or wherever you're going. So we're sort of pride ourselves on making sure we get some of those advanced items. So, all right. And we're keeping track of our incredible chat room too, because they're asking some great or commenting. In case you clicked the wrong spot is great. That is great because I think you had to delete it, redo it.
Yep. Yeah, it wasn't as easy to be exact before.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about accessibility improvements because we have people that use that. We have some friends that many that need those type of items. So tile-based maps now have a 2x zoom option for better readability.
Yeah, so that sounds like a really snazzy title, but so this was actually added in 6.0.1, which was the second release, and was because a user emailed me and said, I think they were from Sweden. Mm-hmm. They were using the option for a custom tile URL. I don't know if you guys have ever used that. You can enter, there's other map providers, and they provide different kind of map URLs, and it will load those tiles in Cachely.
Okay.
And when we have the Retina phones nowadays that are super high res, a lot of those tiles show up really high res, but they're very small. So street names, city names, all that kind of stuff is just minute. And it's not something you can zoom in really. It's not a vector map that I could change the font size. Right. So now there's an option in settings where it actually Cachely will rewrite those images as double size. And even though they're a little less crisp in resolution, it's way more readable. So you can actually test this without adding a custom URL by using the open map option, which is actually a tile-based map. So a lot of users that have just been using that map have been happy that they can actually read street names and things like that now. So
nice.
Because even I don't think I have bad eyesight, but it was pretty hard to read those little, very small street names. So
right.
But that's important that there's a large group of people that have trouble reading. You see people with their phones, and sometimes they have the text turned way up or way up, and it's more convenient for them.
I like that.
So it's great that you have the option. Yeah,
you can really see those. That's cool.
It makes it a lot more comfortable for people. And we've talked about this. Not everybody fits the same mold. Everybody has different restrictions and abilities and everything else. So the fact that you're adding that is good. Very good.
Yeah. And and my premium offline maps, which are the, custom maps for Cashly, they also now respond if somebody has the larger fonts on their phone. Those will also become larger based on how large you've set it on your phone.
Mhm.
So those are way more accessible than before. Before it was just kind of a set font size and one size fits all sort of thing. And then finally, the description and a hint also responds to accessible font sizes in iOS. So trying to do some of the most popular places in the interface, and then I hope to make the entire Cashly interface at some point be able to respond to larger font sizes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, that's good. So I'm glad you added that in there. I wouldn't have thought about that as, when you're programming something like that, but yeah, you don't know, right?
Yeah. Like you said, there's so many different kinds of users, people that need that kind of thing. And then they use an app that doesn't, give them a larger font size. It can be frustrating or hard to use.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's take a moment and talk about offline maps in one sense. We'll talk about it in different ways, but one thing I think that people don't realize is you can purchase the offline maps, and I love them because depending on what state I'm in, and I've been going up to Kansas or going over to Arkansas, visit family, or again the Texas one, you can purchase the offline maps.
Yep.
And they're like $75. How much are they?
It's $2.99.
$2.99.
Yeah, $2.99 for all the maps you can download, and it's for the whole world. So,
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
One-time payment.
Is that incredible? Is that incredible or what, people? $2.99, you get all the maps. I mean, I don't know.
And they're updated. Well, some of them are updated every 2 weeks, and then countries that aren't used as much are about every month. So,
oh my, it is incredible. I love it. Which
Here's an interesting question from the chat room. You may have mentioned this before. What's your favorite feature of Cashly? That's since you know every single one. Obviously, that's got to be hard to do.
I'll mention just my favorite of 6.0 because I would be sitting here thinking for longer if it was all of Cashly. But
dead air well on audio. Don't worry about it. We'll just sit here with dead air. It's okay.
Okay. Probably state restoration, even though it's boring, but it was the one I was the most proud of because it
Right.
solved an issue for a lot of people. Well, probably every user that ever used Cashly had that problem. So that was the one I was most proud of. Yeah.
So here's something that you probably wouldn't bring up if we didn't. Ian said he spent $6.99. He was feeling nice. So what he's talking about is the tip the developer, right?
I think he purchased it and just put, or did he? That's a good question.
For the maps, I call it map supporter. So you can just do the basic one, which is $2.99, or you can be more generous and be like a gold map supporter or a premium map supporter. It's just different levels. Yeah. Too. If somebody's interested in giving a little bit more, it's basically tipping the developer. Yeah. But no pressure for anybody to do that.
You've earned it. Definitely in Gary and I's eyes, you've earned it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You worked super hard on this. And I know that you're independently wealthy, like we always talk about, and you don't have any real jobs. You just sit around all the time doing this.
Absolutely not.
But we're very grateful. So,
well, also, if you've already purchased them and you still want to tip the developer, don't forget it's down there. You can tip the developer, and I think you can do any amount you want, but you give them these options.
Yeah, there's some preset options. Yeah,
preset options.
It's on the More tab.
Gift Cashly to somebody else too, right?
Yeah, you can do that. That option's in the App Store. But yeah, you can feel free to gift it to your friends.
Okay, so I did it for my mom. I bought my mom she was like, I got a new phone. Which one I'm going to use? I'm like, hold on, stop. But I guess I did that through the App Store. I didn't do that directly through Cashly though.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
That is awesome. Very cool. All right, so let's switch over to waypoints.
Yes.
Waypoints are always great. I'm always appreciative when a cache owner puts a waypoint, because, and that's something I assume Jesse does. I know I put a waypoint if it makes sense. I think that's
I put a bunch of fake ones. Just to throw people off.
Now that's something I'm not surprised.
I don't usually. So
Here's a waypoint. There was a bird here. I put a waypoint. No. But on 6.0, waypoint icons show the waypoint code.
Yes. So you want me to explain this one?
Yeah.
In the way that I found to create this. So I would have never thought of this on my own, like
Right.
many of the caching features, but there was a German user that emailed me and they said, so they had a multi that had, it was either a multi or a puzzle. So there was like 25 waypoints and they needed to find them all. They needed to follow them all. And previously in Cachly, you would look at the navigate screen and it would show all the waypoints, but it didn't show the numbers on them.
Okay.
And when they tapped them, it didn't show the text that was associated with the waypoint. So the user had to go back to the main cache screen, click on waypoints, then they could see them in a list. They would tap on one, it would show the map with just that single waypoint. They would go to that one, and then they had to do the whole process over when they went, wanted to go to the second waypoint. So instead, I worked with them on this. Now the actual pins show like a 01, 02. It actually shows the code so they can see the order right on the map.
right.
And then when you tap on them, what I call the map call out, which is what, shows information about the pin.
Right.
Yeah. Now we'll show all of the text of the waypoint.
So here's one that's for my library final.
Yeah.
So it's got FN and it tells you where the final is. It's in the library.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
And if it has even a paragraph of text now, it will show all of that in that map call out.
That is
so
awesome.
All those problems that I never realized were really in Cachly, this user showed me, and I was able to solve them for that user and many others. So now you can just kind of stay on that navigate screen, get all the info you need for those waypoints, and find that cache. So
perfect.
This kind of goes under the heading of what people have been saying in the chat room is that I don't know how you managed to do it, but your customer service for this app is insane. You are very responsive. You've always done that since the very beginning. You're very responsive. You're always looking for new things to add to that. You don't make people rebuy the app. You're not doing any of the other stuff, but you keep the waypoint thing you just talked about. I don't know how much coding and ones and zeros that equals to in the background, right? But there's no reason to add that. You don't have to. You've already sold the app, right? But you keep adding these things that make it, and that's a pretty advanced thing. Like some people may use that, some people may never think about that.
Yeah.
But you're adding that based on suggestions that you put right in your app that people can contact you and go, hey, here's the thing. Have you ever thought about this? And you're getting a lot of these suggestions from people. And that's pretty advanced stuff, right? Really, all you need to find a geocache is the coordinates. But you keep adding stuff that adds to the experience of caching. And that's pretty impressive. And people definitely pick that up that, they always comment when we talk about caching how responsive you are and how you keep adding more things for the same price, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do that. I mean, I would say like 90% of the features in Cachly were user suggested or beta tester suggested.
Right.
I don't cache myself as much as I wish I did. So, I mean, the people that have 30,000 finds are well versed in geocaching and doing cache types that I've never even found before. So the input from others is just extremely valuable for building Cachly.
And this is basically the same as a GPSR, right? I mean, you can do all this stuff.
I've never used a GPSR, to be honest, to find a geocache, but
I know I would be like, I could probably do it to save my life, but if I was thrown in the woods right now, I'd be in trouble. So
I think you have better battery life. Is that the one thing going for it? And a stronger GPS signal. Those are the two things, maybe? No?
Yeah, I'm going to argue with now. We don't want to go off we'll go off
the rails. Which does bring me
all the time, and I have no trouble finding it with my phone. So I don't know the advantage of it. I know people swear by them, and it's nostalgia and everything else. It's like the whole argument about playing records, right, versus an MP3 player or whatever.
Yeah,
MP3, that's old too. I get that, but iTunes or Spotify versus a record. People want to use that old tool, but I mean, you can't do any of the things we're talking about today on that. You're not switching between waypoints and getting descriptions and doing all the other stuff on the fly and moving your pins around. I'm pretty sure that you can't do that on a GPS. So these are
probably
really features.
Yeah, there's probably not state restoration on a GPSR.
Probably not.
Probably not. No. I do want to switch gear real quick as this has been around. It's not a 6.0 feature, but it came up when we talked about battery life. So I think we talked about it before, but if we can talk about it just briefly, you've got in settings at the very bottom, there's a power and battery setting.
Yeah.
Called high power mode, which actually I like this feature. I don't think I've ever used it, but I think the other day it would have been nice to have had, I think. But it says high powered mode can increase accuracy when moving between screens, but will use more power.
Yes, that is a new 6.0 feature. So
it is? Okay, good. Well,
yeah.
I don't feel okay.
So I think since maybe 4.0 or 5.0, when you left a screen that had a map on it, it would actually turn off the GPS in code. So you would actually start saving battery. Because if you were just maybe looking at the cache description for a while or solving a puzzle or something like that,
right,
you don't need the GPS to be running really. And that was kind of the default of Cachely. But every once in a while, especially if you weren't maybe using the assisted GPS, which an iPhone has, where it's quickly triangulating your location, maybe you're out in the woods and you've had it off for a long time, and you go back to a map, it might take 1 or 2 seconds to find your location again. But now, if you want to, you can turn on high power, and it will never turn it off no matter which screen you go to. You'll just keep it on. So you might find some better accuracy when you're going back and forth between screens. But I personally have never had a problem, even with the high powered off. So it's just an extra feature if somebody is looking for that. So
yeah,
I'll keep mine in high power mode. I'll just recharge it.
Okay,
right. I carry more battery, good, but more power.
And I haven't done a comparison to see how much more power, and I don't think it would actually be that much.
Sure.
Well, it'll be some.
I'll keep an eye on and see that.
So Craig asked, can you toggle mystery caches, corrected coords on and off to see the GeoArt again after you have solved them all? So like
not yet.
Back in their location?
Not yet. That's on the feature list for an upcoming version.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Cool. Yep.
That would be kind of neat, right? Because the GeoArt is kind of blown up once you solve everything, and you get the smileys, but they're all indifferent. So that would be kind of neat to have.
Yeah. So basically, it will just toggle corrected coordinates off, and you'll just go back to the original chords with the toggle. So
high power mode, raise deflector shields, load 4-ton torpedoes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Exactly.
I think I know the answer to this, but
yeah,
we'll throw it up there anyway since it's there.
Yeah.
Can you add Adventure Lab locations to your maps?
No, that is not part of the API for developers.
I assumed it wouldn't be, and we had this discussion the other night. I think when we were talking about Adventure Labs, but probably the main reason why they don't, and you can tell me something totally different, like no, that's dumb, is because a lot of them they don't want you to have the locations always beforehand, right? So they wouldn't. It would only work for the first ones on a lot of these sequential ones. You wouldn't.
True.
It'd be like giving away all the stages of a multi. You wouldn't want people to have them ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think they like people using the Adventure Lab app and.
Yeah, and again, the Adventure Lab app is. I guess you wouldn't call it beta, but they're still testing a lot of stuff on that. That's why I think they haven't spread it. I don't know if they'll ever share it with you, but I don't see them sharing it while it's in testing. That would make no sense.
Yeah, and maybe at some point they will be given the ability on the API for developers, but not currently.
But there's some things they keep, right? Like, and you could do a waypoint for sure if you had the information.
Yep.
But like in Cachely, you can't. In no apps, as far as I understand, you can't they do those promotions. Those generally stay only in the geocaching app. That's not something you're choosing not to do, like the current memory lane. You're not choosing to bypass that. They keep that themselves, right?
Yeah. So the only thing that they provide for us, which I don't show in Cachely, is a way to know what the new promotion is and to show like a screen. I could have it pop up. It could talk about it. But as far as like the little things that get unlocked in the official app and where it shows it on the cache pages, we don't have access to those.
And it's kind of hard to blame them, right? They're not proprietary about tons of stuff, but they got to keep a few things.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing we did talk about prior to the show, if people are wondering, I was kind of wondering, is that the relationship between yourself and geocaching.com. And I'll let you speak more to this, but I think it's always been good, really, ever since the beginning, right?
Yeah, I've always thought they were great people, and I live in Washington State, so for quite a few summers, it won't happen this summer, but for quite a few summers, I would actually go up to HQ and have meetings with all the API people, with even Brian, and they would take input, and Cachly, along with lots of other apps, are official partners of theirs. So we have like a liaison that we, can talk to her, and we can email the API team, and they'll, add bug requests or feature requests, and even a lot of the suggestions or features that I've requested to the team eventually have found their way into the API. So they're definitely listening to us developers, and they're very responsive, very kind people. So yeah, great relationship.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that's good to hear too.
They've been great with us. I mean, we're not obviously we're in a whole different realm, but being on the entertainment side of it, I guess you could call it. But they have been always very receptive to Jesse and I mentioning things. They've been very supportive. I mean, we did a whole leaderboard. We were the first people to get to do the leaderboard as a group. I mean, they had a smaller group that sort of did beta, but we were able to kind of fully beta test it, and now they're able to give others opportunities to use that. But I mean, they're always been so helpful for us. I mean, we're obviously all of us, including all the developers, are supporting their their listing, their product, as it were. So but they don't look at that, and they don't take that in for granted. They really do truly are helpful, I think, for everyone. They've been really great. So
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit of offline lists as we continue on. We got a few more things we're going to cover tonight. Offline list or offline filtering. So talk a little bit about because offline lists are incredible. I mean, they've really been and I mentioned it about the Texas Challenge. Everybody, if you're not using an offline list, trust me, get somewhere where you don't have any signal, and you'll wish that we just did a quick short county run in Arkansas, and I got lucky because I was not smart. I didn't offline some of my caches, but I was okay. But I was like, whew, man, I need to always offline my list, because you never know. I mean, even though we were weird, but I know Jesse and I I know I've been trying to make sure and always offline list everything I do. But
yeah.
So what are some things you've been doing with offline lists with 6.0?
Yeah. So offline lists have always had filtering options. And I think there's over 50 different filters you can apply, and you can compound them. You can, do multiple filters on a list, and it will, filter out all the caches that don't meet those filtering specifications. And so, yeah, in 6.0, I think it looks like we added 5 more.
That's awesome.
So there's 2 options to compare if they're parts of other lists. So if it's part of another offline list, you could show it or hide it. Again, these are user suggested, so there's certain use cases that users wanted these for.
Right.
One that I've used is cache log type. So say you could filter and show all caches that have a DNF log, and then you could read those, figure out why somebody DNF'd one of those. Or you can invert the filter, and it would do the opposite. It would show all caches that don't have a DNF log. Another new one is found by username. So you could put a username in there, and it would look through all the found logs. And then the last one is created offline. So Jesse, as I was saying, you can create like your own custom geocache objects in the database. And so that would just show those. So if you added those accidentally maybe to a list and you didn't realize, oh no, I added those custom ones that they don't have real GC codes.
Right.
They're actually just user created. They'll never be uploaded anywhere. You can just filter those out using one of those new filter options. So
Yeah, I'm going to start using that. I guess I'd never noticed that before. Although I've used save locations 1,000 times, I never noticed create offline geocache. That will change. I'm doing a bunch of those now. So
good. Yeah, it's just it's like the better version of the save locations. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, I like it. And somebody mentioned attributes. That wasn't in this. That wasn't in 6.0, right? You didn't add attributes as a filtering.
No, that's been there for a while, but yeah, you can filter on attributes or filter on doesn't have attributes, things like that.
Which can be very convenient if you're doing an attribute search for certain things.
Yeah.
Although I know people play around with attributes, but if you're trying to fill that calendar, that can be difficult. So not counting the grid or whatever it is. So it's hard to find those.
Yeah, that is awesome. Craig had a good, interesting idea because being in Australia and traveling around some, all our international, and we're an international show, so we get a lot of people listen in other countries. He suggests offline lists and offline maps. You don't need to buy data in another country. Just use the hotel Wi-Fi at the start and end of your day, and there you go. So that's a cool idea or good thing to think about if you're traveling between a different country and you don't want to purchase data, offline it and just do it that way. Do it at the end of the day when you may have access to Wi-Fi. So that's awesome. Very cool. Offline list, deselect selected list options or delete all list options has been added, correct?
Yeah, so it's just before you had to, if you say you had like 50 lists, you would just have to manually delete each offline list.
Oh, okay.
It just adds a few extra quick options in there for power users. They can select, 10 different ones and delete them that way, or just blow out the entire database if you choose. So just adding more power in there for people that want it.
We were going to probably get this to the end, but somebody mentioned it, and that is you actually traveling anywhere. So I guess this year is sort of out since there's only a couple megas that are even left. But do you think you'll be able to, are planning to probably go to the 20th celebration in 2021? In those, I don't know about Woodstock will be in Canada next year, but were you thinking about you might be able to make a trip to the
hopefully I'll be able to make it to some of them. I need to look at the dates, but yeah, okay. I mean everything's changed now, so we'll have to see.
Yep.
I know this is not a new feature, but somebody brought it up, so I thought I'd put it on there. They just hit a bunch of offline caches, and that the radius feature was for them.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It's just funny what little bitty thing in there is going to be hugely helpful to somebody. There's so many things, right, beyond the basic stuff. And I'm assuming it's the same with everybody, but one little feature will be the most important feature to somebody, and somebody else will never use that feature. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, that's the not dealing with user requests, but like somebody will think that their request is the most important thing in the world. And I try to honor all requests and really think about if it's useful, but sometimes there's something that's just completely obscure. But that user might think it's so important, and it probably is to them. But sometimes it's something I can't add because it would take a lot of work, and only maybe 5 people would use it.
All right, so you may not be able to answer this question. Okay. I might even be able to guess what I'm going to ask next. But can you tell us? If you can't, I get it. What is the weirdest request you had?
Oh boy,
and we don't name anybody.
Probably Android. Create caching for Android.
That's gonna happen.
Not weird, but hard.
Maybe I was gonna think about my weird request was to flip the screen so I could stick in my cup holder.
That was useful though, but it wasn't. See, it's another one of those things I didn't ever run into, but it was something you did, and so it made sense to do it because it helped the user out.
Yeah. So I know people that probably get frustrated. They're like, "Oh, that stupid thing's moving." And it's like, yeah, but I liked when it moved. I could change it. So there's a thing in the settings where you can tell it to not. You can lock it, I guess, in place. Phone rotation lock.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you're always wondering why you need to fix that, go into settings, and you can change it to whatever you want. You can make it like lock in certain locations, or you could have it. In my case, I would typically flip it or not have it do anything. That way, when I was using it, I could set it because I was usually had the power cord in, and I wanted to look at it upside down. And by doing that,
Because you put it in your cup holder, right?
yeah, I used to put it in my cup holder, and I usually had power. I usually needed power going to it, so power, and then put it this way, but I could still see Cachly.
Yeah.
But now it'll talk to you and tell you where you're going. It'll find the cache for you. It's incredible. Cachly 6.0 finds the caches for you now. It's incredible.
That would be like Cachly 10.0, where you just speak to it and it finds it for you, and it will log it and everything.
Hello, Cachly. How are you doing? I'm not finding the cache. You can look a little harder, Cachly. Keep looking. Somebody asked about. We'll get to that. Somebody's asking about map API keys. Is that?
Yeah, so that's for open cycle maps. At one point, I had used that with an API key that I had gotten, and then that provider introduced very expensive fees for that because every Cachly user was using that same API key, and so it was hundreds of dollars a month. And I foresaw that it would raise even higher in the future. So I said every user needs to go get their own key for that, and it's free for regular users. It wasn't free for a business. But yeah, there's an option on there to open it and to give some instructions on how to do that, and then you just paste it into Cachly and save it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, couple more. We're rolling along. Live search. So talk a little bit about live search.
Yeah, so I will mention one thing first that I ran into as well. So sometimes users would have a couple live search options enabled. Maybe they had set favorite points, maybe they had set publish date, and they forgot that they did that, maybe because it was scrolled way down on the list of filters. And then they kept, sometimes I would get emails and people would say, what's the deal? I'm not seeing these certain caches, but if I go on the website, they're definitely there. Mm-hmm. And I would just say, check, your filters, see if it's, reset them. That might help. Now, if one of those options is on, it will highlight that section green. So it's just a little visual indicator to know that you've played with that setting. You've changed it from the default. So you can scroll through and see those, and it's kind of, hopefully users will kind of self figure those issues out if it's something that, they've ran into a problem. So that's one of the options.
Oh yeah. It makes them green. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's actually really convenient because, I wouldn't call myself a power user because I don't even know what that would entail, but I use Cachly exclusively, right? And I use it a lot, and I use almost all the features of it. Every once in a while, I don't realize the features in there that's on there, but I've done that.
Yeah.
Early on, I did that. Now, a lot of times now I'll just reset everything and, put it back really quickly. But
yeah, that
is actually really convenient because you go through and set everything perfectly, and, you're going out to play and you forget that one little feature at the bottom is there. So that's such a small thing, but it can make a huge difference. And, it's not one of those slap your head moments. So
yeah. Yep. Little UI, little user interface tweaks like that can really make a difference for users.
That is great.
So, yeah.
Filters is something that is very different, I think, for each user. I don't use them, but I know a lot of people swear by filtering. So
I don't ever search without filters.
See, I'm the opposite.
I don't think I ever, there's never, I hardly ever just show me everything on the map.
Show me all of it.
See that. Yeah. Finds, obviously I take my finds out almost immediately unless I'm doing something, if I'm searching, or hidden by me. Those are the first two things I hit every single time. My finds and my highs. I take those out immediately.
Take them out.
But there's other things that I just don't, depending on what style of caching you're doing that day. I almost always have some filters on.
If I did that in my area, my map would pretty much be pretty much empty. Although I found a cache today that and did some searching around and found a couple that I are new, which I didn't know. I don't remember getting a notification for it. I got to check my notifications. But anyway, all right, we're moving on.
Well, wait, I'm pretty sure this one's not in there, and it may not be able to be in there. But there's no way to filter by the cache contains trackables, right?
There used to be, but they took that away from the API. And
Something about that.
yeah, I can't. It was a technical reason. I think not a lot of people used it or something like that. They had some statistics on that, and I think it was causing a long server requests or something like that.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, they removed it.
Okay, I thought there was something like that, and I think we had talked about it before, but.
And you can do that with offline filtering. So if you have a bunch in, pocket queries or something, you can filter for trackables with offline.
Yeah.
That's
just
cool.
not on the live, which you can always do offline and then just filter, so it's no thing.
Yeah.
Live search filter enables items will show row color. We did that. Live filter screen should not reset scroll position when showing again. That's interesting.
That's a very boring one, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, so if you scroll down to the bottom and you leave that screen, you return, it just used to shoot you back to the top, which is really annoying. So just a few little UI tweaks like that. The other one that I think I skipped past was the sorting type.
Yeah.
So the API actually provides a bunch of different sorting types for the data you receive from HQ, and it's always been defaulted to distance. So you would always receive caches close to you and then out like in a circle, in a radius up to 100 miles. So now you can actually change that sorting. So you can do it by kind of weird things. You can sort by like terrain or size or favorite points. So if you did it, for example, by favorite points, and you change either ascending or descending, you could get largest favorite points closest to you. And so it would go in a radius out based on favorite points. So it's kind of a different way to see them on the map and to sort them before they come to Cachely. So even though Cachely had a sorting option before, it was always, you would still receive them by distance and then you could sort them. But now it kind of does its own filtering on the server before Cachely even receives them.
I used that just like a week ago. That exact.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I use those weird settings in there a lot of times.
Yeah, and sometimes it's almost hard to explain how they'll work without somebody just testing it, and they'll see how favorite points are being now that's the radius is favorite points, and so yeah, give that a try because it's a new option.
Love it. That's incredible. Okay, map types and options. These are all new map types, the GIS Clarity, the Nat Geo, and the Topo?
Yeah, so those are, a couple of them are new satellite maps. So the ArcGIS Clarity are ones that I've used for a long time because they are really clear. So there's times when Apple Maps, Google Maps, and any other options I had on there, you couldn't see like in tree cover, but whatever ArcGIS has done, their clarity maps are excellent, and you can often see into little places that you can't normally see on other maps.
Oh, cool. The ArcGIS is that one section.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's just giving, and the Nat Geo and the the Topo. Those are just additional options for users that if they want them.
Love it. Yeah, that's interesting. He would call it clarity.
Yeah.
What does the plus and minus for the sorting mean? And I think
that's ascending or descending sort. Yeah.
Very good.
Very cool.
So, and it's, again, map types are extremely not personalized, but people have their preferences for those as well. Some people really prefer one type and will argue about it, and some people really prefer the other types. But you get your own style of caching and your own way of using that app, and you really dig into that as the best way.
Yep.
We're kind of getting toward the end. So if you have some questions, make sure you ask them in the chat room, if you would, please, while we're starting to get toward the end. Mm-hmm. We've got some miscellany. There's a lot. They're in the show notes. I'll have the show notes up. I'll try to be better this week about getting my show notes put up, get our show notes put up quicker. But there's a couple that Nick highlighted. There's a ton, so we're not gonna go through all of them.
Well, and no matter what we skip, that's what the most important thing to somebody was.
Yeah, that's true. Probably.
We're not even rapid fire through all these things, but we're gonna try to hit some of them and go to the show notes. And if we didn't get it, it's not like Nick didn't think it was important. We just didn't want to make a 5-hour show. So
we don't want to go through date.
Yeah.
tram styles, add volleyball icon,
No, those are boring ones. Let's
add skateboarding icon. Those are important. No, but you did highlight a couple. So let's talk about the couple items that you mentioned, which we talked about earlier. The text templates. I love
Yep.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Add that. Event time. I didn't think about this. What did you add for event time? Obviously for an event, right?
Yeah, so previously, the API had not had event time for quite a long time. So people could add the event to their calendar or look at that cache, but they had to view the description to see what time it was actually at. The API returned 12 o'clock noon, I think, for all events.
Love it.
Yeah, and so this was actually added quite a while back by the API team, but I finally got it added to Cachely. So now you can see the actual event time on the details page of a cache, and when you add it to your calendar, if users do that, it will actually include the time as well. So,
Yep,
That's awesome.
that is great. I love that because we're not right now, obviously, and I don't want to get into that, but events are one of the things we do more than anything else. We go to events constantly. We do it while we're traveling, and to us, if that's one of the first things we search when we're going through an area or traveling to an area. Is there any chance we can attend an event while we're going through, and we'll add it in and into our time of the day and everything else. So the fact that you can add those to calendars and stuff, again, seems like such a small thing, but for us, it's huge in our style of caching. So that's a good one. I like that one a lot.
And then you have a couple for history. You got one history screen shows highlighted colors.
yep. If you're a user of highlight colors, I don't know if you guys ever use those, but I know a lot of other users like to group things with highlight colors.
Mm-hmm.
And previously those weren't really exposed on the history screen. So now you can actually see if one of those caches that you have on the history also has a highlight color. So it's kind of helpful. And then you can also search them. Yeah. Right. So that's a different, that's the settings for highlight, Gary.
For highlight. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Yeah. If you go to history.
Highlights and highlights. It's cool that you can do. That's the highlighting section. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so this applies to like the history section where you basically are seeing all of your caches that you've browsed.
There's the history section.
Yeah.
There you go. So if one of those was highlighted, you would actually see that on the left side of the cache.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's another one of those things so odd. Like I've used the highlights a couple times because I test everything that comes out to kids. But I have friends that I cache with that use them all the time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I love that.
They've locked onto that one and they have all this color scheme and they have all kinds of stuff. And I guess I'm not that organized to do it. You know,
I'm not either.
Yeah.
But I see why they're doing it. But I'm like, I've done it a couple of times. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, but it fits their style perfectly. And it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that is, I didn't think about that. That's great. Yeah. It's things like you said, I don't use it, but it is really cool. Maybe I will start using the history part. That is neat.
Yeah, no, you can search it. You can search the history now as well. So if you remember a cache you visited in Cachely a while back, you don't have to scroll through the list. Just start typing the name or the GC code. And it should search those.
Nice. That is awesome.
Yeah.
And then, very cool. Okay. I think, and then everybody keeps calling 7.0. I was like, come on, let's enjoy 6.0. You're asking a lot.
That's one of my beta testers. He's just probably giving me a hard time.
Yeah, I think he is.
So here's the question we'll throw back at them. What could he possibly add to 7.0?
There's a big list of stuff still.
It's already a big list.
Yeah.
You're always doing it, but I mean, it's crazy. Every time you add something and you see the list, you're like, this is good. You got it. You don't need anything else. And you add something, you're like, well, crap, I'm going to use this all the time now. So
always have to keep users interested and entice new users. Yeah. So
something that you've done really almost probably from the beginning, maybe because of your other job, your other thing, and that is you always had beta testers. Is that fair to say you pretty much have had beta testers pretty much from the beginning?
Yeah, so I had beta testers before 1.0 was ever released.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it started with a friend of mine who I knew was a big geocacher. He's actually introduced the first idea of geocaching to me when I lived in California. Mm-hmm. He was one of my first beta testers, and I think I put out just a request on Twitter or Facebook or something for beta testers at one point, and got a bunch of people on board then, and just over the years, other people have asked, and so now we have kind of a solid team of people that are really active.
That's awesome.
And other people will request to be a beta tester, and sometimes I say no, sometimes I say yes, because we're all using Slack, and so beta testers are on there almost daily talking about things, and so I want new beta testers to be really involved if they're interested. So
yeah, I was getting into some questions. That's one of them we're going to get to. We got a few questions before as we're wrapping up tonight. So where I go, I don't know. I think we all use the offline. What's the one, Jesse? We use there is an app for that.
For Apple, it's Where I Go. So I don't. As much as I love Where I Go, I don't know how much time I'd spend coding something for that right now. I just
there is a Where I Go player.
Get rid of them, but I don't think that's anywhere. And Brian and them were pretty open about it, right? They're like, yeah, it's not even close to the front page of our list.
Yeah.
So while they probably won't just delete them all, I wouldn't spend a lot of my time developing for that right now.
Yeah, it's something I've played with just because I hate a problem that I can't figure out, and I've just been curious about how they work and how you can display them on the iPhone and how the Where I Go app works. So that's the extent that I've got, is just kind of playing around with how it could work, or how the code, it's another coding language that you're actually writing, Where I Goes in.
Yeah.
So
Lua, I think it's Lua.
Yep.
There is another. This is one of the questions was brought up tonight, which is developing a dark mode. Is that on the list for 7.0? You think, or
that's going to be in 6.1? That's one that I've mentioned that I'm going to add to 6.1. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
Let's see. Going down the list.
So while Gary's pulling those up, so I'll ask you this: is there anything that you would want to put in there that is not possible at this current time under what we currently have with APIs and just the limitations of what are out there? Is there something that you would love to put in there that is just impossible at this time?
I would love to have the option to do like a live map, like the official app does. Maybe some people wouldn't want it. Maybe some people would, but I've had a lot of requests for it over the years, and just the limits that users have for like API requests per minute and how many caches can be returned in one request, and then also the daily limit. It kind of it limits it. So there is other apps out there that do that with the API, but you can run into problems real quick. If you move the map really quick, it'll continue to make requests, and people that don't have premium membership could really run into problems because they don't have as high as limits, and so there's just a lot of problems around it. And the official app, they own the data, so they can request more caches to populate that live map as you're scrolling your map around. So it would be really cool to have, but I don't know if there will be a way using the API that I can easily do that. So
right,
yeah.
Kitty Catch mentioning about Cache Tour. I don't know if you're familiar with CacheTour.no.
Yep.
We're going to be doing a show on that soon.
I've met the developer. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And we really love Cache Tour. I use Cache Tour and Cachely to do all of my county runs with Susan. So it'd be neat to see if there was a way to add something about there. I don't know.
There's integration with Cache Tour and Cachely. You can use it as like a routing app. So if you're using Cache Tour and you can long press, I think, on one of the caches, and it should open Cachely right away.
I do. Yeah, I do. And from Cache Tour, I just tell it to when I'm ready to go to a cache, it automatically pulls up Cachely, which is wonderful. Yeah.
This is one I haven't seen much, but character count for logs. Has that ever been requested?
You can see how many you're on.
Yeah, that's actually one of the ones on my list, and it should be pretty easy to add because I added that for personal notes, because that's actually limited as well, I think, to 4,000 characters, or maybe it's logs or 4,000. But yeah, so it's on my list of things that I want to add, and I think it would be useful because I think it's unlimited right now as far as what Cachely lets you type, and then if you sent that, you would get an error. So
okay. Oh, interesting.
So here's a question that maybe this is one of my own, but so
go ahead. we'll come back.
This may be out of your control, but so when everybody gets them every day. You get an email about a cache from geocaching, like a log or whatever, and then you can click on it in there in your phone, and it'll pull up that cache. Right? Is there any way to make Cachely like my default thing within my phone? Because it always goes to, if I have their app, it goes to their app, which I don't. I'm not going to get negative about it, but I don't use that app.
Sure.
So I'll usually delete that because it'll pull it up, and I want to be able to pull up something Cachely or geocaching.com, not their app. Is there any way to make Cachely like the default? Everything defaults to that on my phone when I pull it up, or is that something on their end?
There is not a way to do that. That's an iOS thing and a thing with the HQ app. So there's a way that they have verified that they own the geocaching.com or cord.info domains. And I think iOS will look to see if you have the HQ app installed. And if you do, it will try to send those requests to that app.
Okay.
So it's kind of a integration between those two things. And I can't override it. Not that I would try, but maybe in the future, iOS will come up with a way where it can ask you and you can choose which app you would prefer to use to open a URL like that. But currently, there's nothing that I can change about it.
Okay. I figured that was the case.
Yeah, similar to widgets. Before we move on to other questions, I use widgets in iOS, and that's geocaching is one of the widgets, but it obviously opens at geocaching.com.
Yeah, and one thing you can do is like when you get the emails that a new cache has been placed, you can long press in that in your email and copy the URL, and then you can paste that into Cachely's search, and it will parse that URL and find the GC code. So
I like that you don't have to. Maybe did we used to the very early on you had to make sure it wasn't all of the whole thing and then the GC code, because now you just put the whole thing in and it figures out what the GC code is and does it. Was that probably somewhere along the line where you got it so it could figure out where the GC code is in your.
I think a long time ago, before they had the core.info domain, it was harder because it was a long string and then the cache code was within the cache name.
Right.
But now I think all emails probably use the core.info, and that's just really easy to grab the GC code from there. Yeah.
So we got a comment from Hugh here, and I want to make sure we get to it. That are there video or how-to videos on using Cachely for us new to Cachely? And we really just jumped over all the beginning stuff tonight and really talked about specific stuff. But
yeah,
if somebody's new to it, where would they go to get information or kind of training videos on that?
So if anybody wants to find our Facebook group, that's a good resource for beginners if they want to ask questions. Just search for Cachely in Facebook. But as far as videos, this is something I've been thinking about and talking about with my beta testers. Mm-hmm. I've actually, if people know what Final Cut Pro is, I've actually been working on the template in Final Cut Pro, which is editing software, video editing software, for how I would have each one of those videos, how I could have an image of a phone and, have taps so you can visually see where I'm tapping. It's hard to do those kind of things without setting that all up and kind of having a template, but it's something that I am actively thinking about and working on. So, but currently there's not a place for a bunch of instructional videos, unfortunately.
Is this the spot where we'd go? And I'll go back to Jesse's question.
Yep.
So facebook.com/groups/Cachely user group, all one word. And that's the group that.
There's also Cachely.com that you can go to that has some more links and resources. But the most active group of, I think, almost 2,000 users is on Facebook.
Yep. Over 2,000. That's awesome. But Jess, you had a question then.
Yes. No, Ian had a couple people mentioned it, but using the notifications on Apple Watch, that's pretty cool.
That will be in 6.1. So I think that's what he's referring to. I've mentioned that I'm going to add that to 6.1. Yeah.
You've had it on the watch for a while, but there's going to be
the watch app, but not notifications of proximity.
Right.
Yeah.
I like it.
I think there was another question. A
lot of them came in all at one time. I was trying to hit any of the last.
Yeah, I'm going through and looking, but we've had some great ones as we start to wrap up tonight.
Before we wrap up, too, though, I mean, there's tons of things. We got all the notes in there and everything else. And you've kind of been making the circuit, letting everybody know about it, which is great. And we have a lot of crossover for a lot of people. But if is there something that you want to make sure that you push out there to let people know about, or something new that you haven't got to mention, or you can't really tell everything that's in the future, but anything that you want to just really highlight in this release? I know we hit just about everything tonight. I don't want you to like miss something because we steered you out off that direction. So
got it. I would say all those little boring updates to offline premium maps. I think that users of premium maps will notice all the changes. They'll notice all the style updates to the map. So I think it was a great update for those users of the offline maps. And if you're not an offline map user, as we mentioned, they're pretty inexpensive. So
Yeah.
give those a try.
And when does the Android version come out? You didn't mention that.
That I do not have a release date for. I'm sorry.
It always comes up.
No release date for that one, huh?
No, I haven't even started on it. So
Oh,
It's funny. People know the answer to that have watched the show for a while, but it comes up every time. So
yeah, I've had people that are actually angry about it. They're angry that there's no iOS version. I don't know why, but or not iOS, Android. Yeah,
Android version.
Yeah.
You should really quit your job and just start doing it.
As a reminder, it's not just a cut and paste. You'd have to start from scratch.
Yeah, it's a whole
But, and I'm one person. Some companies, development companies, can do two versions, an iOS and Android version, because they have 10 developers working on a product, and they can have two teams. So
the question I'd seen was about AR. AR is something that's really an interesting. How would you put it? It's kind of a quandary. Jesse, don't you think?
Well, I mean, it's not a thing right now.
Pardon.
Geocaching ARs, those are really not a thing right now. So they did their experiment for a while. They let some people do it. My best guess would be that they're going to do something a lot more integrated in the future. Now, so speculating further than that, if they ever do come back out with ARs, which obviously the world fell apart, right? So busy right now. I get that. But if AR ever came back out, I would hope that they had some kind of platform, some stable platform that they endorsed, whether it was theirs or somebody else's. Now, if they'd ever push that out through the API, I have no clue, right? That's something that, if they did, could people take advantage of that? I mean, that's really complicated. I don't know if that's something that you would ever see inside Cachly at all.
Yeah, I mean, if it was something, if it was like a packaged file or something like that, which I think, when the metaverse, we're talking about the metaverse app, there was some sort of a packaged file with all the data for the AR stuff. If that was provided by the API and there was an open standard or something like that there was frameworks to display that AR information, then sure, I'd be happy to, explore adding it to Cachly.
Right. I think that's AR is kind of interesting, but when they take it back and they're trying to figure it out, who knows? That could be, you can't do anything unless they know what they're going to do with it. So that's an answerable question right now, right?
But I've explored the idea of AR in Cachly, where you would actually have a camera view that you hold up, and then you can see all of the caches in the camera view, like in real time AR. And so then you could physically walk to that. But the problem is, would users care? And then also, if you came close to one, would users that were new to geocaching expect that the cache was really at that visual pin that was in front of them?
Right.
They'd be like, oh, it's at the tree. The pin is right at the tree. Where's the cache? And then, so I think there'd be a misunderstanding about how that worked. And the cache, was in a radius instead of exactly at that location.
Yeah, you would have to do like the bubbles that you have for the proximity bubbles. Like it's in this area. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
That's one of those things that, either could take the world by storm or nobody would care. And you have no idea until you put in all the work, right?
Yeah, and that kind of stuff takes an incredible amount of work. I've played with it and probably wasted too much time with it and didn't go anywhere. So
yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, as we wrap up, I do want to mention, I forgot to mention the shows that are coming up. And one of them is kind of interesting. I know Jesse Tuttle's in the chat room. We're going to talk about his, which kind of ties back in, obviously, to Cachly as well. But next week, we're going to do a show with the North Dakota geocaching group, talk about their geo tour. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Talking about Fargo and the Moorhead geo tour up that way. Gilby and all that cool area of the country. And the Geo Tour, it's up that direction. We're going to do a cache tour down in O. Another update with Carl. Even though he's over in Norway or wherever he might be in Europe at the time, but he's going to do it live 8 p.m. No change of time, 8 p.m. Central. He'll do it from whatever time that is, 2 a.m. in the morning or whatever, it's 3 a.m. in the morning,
Wow.
Norway. So hats off to Carl for being willing to do that for us. And then we're unveiling something. Can't really give any detail right now. I know Jesse will, but Trackables. We're going to talk about Trackables and what's going on with geocaching.com and Trackables. So Jesse Tuttle will be on in 3 weeks.
That'll be about you. Yeah.
Trackables. So we're excited about that.
One more thing, don't forget.
Yep.
A lot of Club is tomorrow night for the patrons that are joining that. We all the information has been sent out to you, and we'll be going over a book. Again, I'm not going to bore everybody else with it, but that's been kind of a fun little started during Corona thing and continuing still. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Jesse's pointed out they just got approval from, so good thing I didn't screw that up. So that's good. They just got approval from geocaching.com for that.
Big announcement over here like,
don't talk about it. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
I appreciate that. We're such huge fans, have been Cachly fans obviously since the beginning. Love it. If everybody would do that, really would help out. If you'd like to give a few extra dollars, you can go to tip the developer. I think that's important. Put a lot of effort in that, but definitely. So Tricashius, he's going to be on next week. We're excited to be on, have you on, and that's going to be great. So that's wonderful. Gilby doesn't have the Geo Tour, but Gilby is one of them that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Geo Tour. We're also talking about Gilby because there's a lot of cool caches in Gilby. So just for me to clarify that. All right. Well, I think that is it. Jesse, final word. I'm going to hit the outro.
I've said it a million times, so I'm not going to rub it into the ground. But if you're not using Cachly, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it's exclusive. Like we mentioned this many times. There's so many ways to play this game. There's so many ways to get to playing this game. For me and Gary too, we've talked about this many times. Cachly does more than I could ever use, and I'm really into being able to do exactly what I want to do. So I'm always surprised when Nick brings out something brand new. It's usually by user suggestion, and I'm like, I don't need anything else. I'm like, oh, I need this, and I'm going to use this every day now. So you don't know what you don't need, what you need until it's handed to you. But again, very versatile app, and if you're not on iOS, I'm sorry, but it's just awesome. So use it, and just the responsiveness. I think that's what people have to remember. I don't know. I still don't know how you do it. You're so fast to answer people and get all the new ideas and make them happen and everything else. That's what I hear from when I talk to people totally away from the show and we talk about Cachly. That's what they always mention first. Like I talked to him and he answered it. I'm like,
yeah, he actually responded quickly.
Big button. I mean, he really does it. So
yeah,
if you don't have an iOS phone, go buy an old one and use it. So
yeah.
All right. Idea.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, Nick. It's been
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
You bet. All right. Stick around for a second. Here's our outro.
Folks, we hope you've enjoyed the show tonight, as well as our new format. Please email us your comment at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The show can be found on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, or Spotify, as well as at the Geocache Talk website. Don't forget to click that subscribe button below and ring that bell notification so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. And tell your friends about the show. Get them involved with us in the chat room. And until next week, don't just talk about geocaching, go geocaching.
Thanks again. Good night, everybody.